Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. Today's video is going to be my top 10 favorite luxury products and their affordable alternatives. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. This video is going to be a top 10 favorite products that I think are really good at a luxury price point. But if you want to go a little bit cheaper, then I also have some alternatives to show you that I think can give you a similar look. I wouldn't necessarily call all of these dupes. Sometimes I do that for, video purposes, that I call something a dupe, but then I kind of feel they're more sort of like in the same vein. They're definitely not shade dupes very often. They're definitely not formula dupes. But if you want the look for less, then I'm going to be roping those products in here as well. And this is the final video I'm doing as part of my luxury makeup week that I had going on in June. So I'll leave the other videos I've done in the series down below so you can go back and watch them if you'd like. But before we get into the video, it may be good to know that I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, and this greatly skews my makeup preferences. Because I have been buying, trying, and reviewing makeup for more than a decade, I have some strong opinions as well. So when I say something is a favorite, it's a favorite. And if you're into eyeshadow palettes, essence and Catrice, and getting the use out of your makeup, then this channel may have something to offer for you. So I hope you'd like to consider subscribing by clicking subscribe down below and joining my Snow Angel family. So I've got a little bin here filled with selections, and in some categories, like in some of the 10 items, I have multiple options, so that depending on what you like, I have more than one thing to talk about. But for the most part, I have one product in every single category. So shall we start with something that's on my face? I think that's a good idea. So the first product I want to talk about is powder. And when it comes to powder, I thought I always had to go more expensive. And I've tried some more expensive powders in the past, but I've never really found them to be worth it to be repurchasing them over and over. I'm someone who uses up a powder before they move on to the next one. I don't dip into different powders all the time. I did an entire trial of loose powders a couple of years ago where I really wanted to see, okay, are these like hyped up cult favorite powders really good for my dry skin? And I just found as I was doing that one of my favorites was by Catrice when it came to loose powders. And today as well, I actually have more affordable versions than I have a higher end version, because at the minute, the only luxury powder in my entire makeup collection is this. And it's a travel size of the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder. I used it in my full face makeup look that I showed you on Tuesday, but I've said it in the past, and I popped the short that I filmed up on the screen right here so you can see. But the Kiko Radiant Fusion Powder, I think, is a really good alternative to it. Do they do exactly the same thing? Maybe not. The Kiko is perhaps a little bit heavier in its texture than the Hourglass. This is a little bit more lightweight. And since I have dry skin, I don't love setting powders. I prefer a finishing powder just to take away some of the shine and make things look more wearable. I'm not really looking to make my makeup last longer, because with powder, I feel that if they do that, and also powder foundations, it just cakes up. It doesn't look great. It gets into all of my fine lines. It always bunches up around my nose. So I just don't prefer that kind of product. But I feel that these two are very similar indeed, which is why I currently only have the small size for the Hourglass, because I can very easily take this with me when I'm traveling, and that's when I use this. But as you can see, I've hit pan on this Kiko powder. It's been in my Shop My Stash for the past months, and it's, I think, a fourth roughly of the price of the Hourglass, plus Kiko do regular sales, so you can definitely wait around. They often do 25% off or buy two and get two products for free. So with Kiko, you can find deals very easily as well. The packaging of the Kiko is stunning as well. I mean, there's nothing wrong. I love almost everything I've tried from Kiko in this silver packaging line. I think I'm going to be showing you at least one more product that's in that same line. So yeah, in terms of powder, you really don't have to spend a lot of money, I feel. There are some really good powders on the market for sure at the higher end. price point, but I have always been able to find drugstore alternatives for face powders for my dry skin anyways. Maybe if you have oily skin, it may be different because you just need to get more out of your powder, but I really just do like a very light dusting just to finish things off, and that's it. But there's one other thing I need to tell you about in the powder category, and that's the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Filter. I don't have this powder anymore because I found an alternative in Essence. This is the Skin Loving Sensitive Mineral Powder. I have 3 of these in backup because this is one of my favorite all-time powders. I feel texture-wise it's very similar to the Charlotte Tilbury. However, the Charlotte Tilbury comes in a lot of shades, whereas this one only comes in this one shade, which is going to be too dark for some people and too light for other people, which I don't think I was able to like ever film a short because I only have this powder now, and I no longer have the Charlotte Tilbury, and I have no intention of repurchasing that. One thing that's good about the Charlotte Tilbury though, if that's your powder of choice, it has a removable pan, so you only have to buy the packaging once, and then you can just repurchase the powder as a pan, which I think is a really good thing to do. Makes it far more sustainable to go about your powder use, because one of the reasons why I don't want to buy the Charlotte Tilbury one anymore is because I go through the powder really quickly. The same with the Essence. I mean, the Kiko one I've been able to use for over 6 months and I've only just hit pan. It's nowhere near being done just yet. Whereas with the Essence, I think it's like 2 months. And same with the Charlotte Tilbury one, you just don't get as much wear time out of the product. Like, you cannot use it for a very long time because it's a very finely milled powder and your brush just picks up a little bit more. It's a lovely powder, but at that €40 price point that it goes for, I would prefer the Essence. This is like €3, maybe 4 at the drugstore. And so for a powder that I go through that quickly, I think the drugstore option is actually going to be more affordable, not only in the long run, even if you can get more sustainable packaging from the brand that's a little bit cheaper. But yeah, it really comes down to preferences. Like I said, I don't need much for my powders, which is why I actually prefer them from the drugstore very often. Let's stick to complexion for a minute. I don't have any sort of luxury primers or setting sprays that I love. Again, categories where I tend to go more drugstore than anything else, and a base product category that I tend to go to where I gravitate towards more affordable brands, as well as concealer. I've really only ever found one concealer that is at the luxury price point that I truly feel is worth it, and that's the Dior Forever Skin Correct concealer. Now, the only reason why I almost decluttered it this year is because this is not my shade. It's a little bit too dark. Maybe now that it's summertime, I can get away with it. But I really, really love how much product we get in here, and also this formulation wise is one of the best concealers I have ever tried. It looks natural, it doesn't crease, it's lightweight, yet it still gives you coverage. I mean, it makes such light work of any patches of redness and dark circles that I may have left. And I believe that this is like 10 milliliters of product, 11. So even though this is a more expensive product, where with the Charlotte Tilbury I was saying like you go through it so quickly that's one of the reasons why I don't find it worth it. But with this Dior product, you're gonna go through this not in like a couple of weeks like I do with a lot of my more affordable concealers. This is going to last you a long time. This is easily, if you use it every single day, I think it's going to take you at least 6 months to use it up. And then over time, in the long run, a product like this, because you only need a little bit, you can really make it last. And it just means that it can actually be less expensive in the long run than like repurchasing a new concealer every single week if you were to stick to it. So that's why I think the Dior Forever Skin Corrector is one of the best concealers I've ever tried. I just wish that it was sold in my country in my shade, because it's not. This was the lightest shade I could get, which is 1N. There are lighter shades available, but I would have to go online, and at the time I just didn't want to wait because I was going to film a full face of Dior, so I needed a concealer by them, and I think it's a really good one, as I said. But I have an affordable alternative, and it's not from a drugstore brand, but it is very affordable, It's by K-Beauty brand. This is from the same, and this is their Cover Perfection Tip Concealer. I have this in the shade 0.5. This is another concealer that I actually used up in the past because I loved it so much. And then I repurchased it in a lighter shade because I felt the shade I had at the time was a little bit too deep. And I thought there weren't any lighter shades, but then some people in the comments were saying, no, the same concealer comes in lighter shades. They just must have been out of stock. And then I checked again on YesStyle, and it was still available. This retails for €5. But you do get a lot less product. I don't think I can read how much product we get in here because it's all in Korean. No, I can't read that, but it's a very small amount. I think this may just be 3 milliliters of product. So the Dior, even though that's like, 10 times more expensive, it does give you 4 times the amount of product that you get in this one. And buying this one, like the 8 times that you would have to get the Dior one, I think you could actually use the Dior concealer for almost that amount of time, because I do feel you do need a little bit more of this than you do with the Dior. But I feel that in formulation, like formulation wise, I feel they're quite similar in what they can do for the skin. This also doesn't crease. It looks really lovely and natural, very easy to use. So yeah, this is a really, really good one. Let's talk foundation. So I've said in the past how I prefer a foundation from a luxury or higher end brand because very often we get better shade ranges. At the drugstore, I definitely struggle finding my shade. However, I've got 3 luxury foundations here, or tint moisturizers, and I'm going to show you some alternatives that I think will give you a similar-ish look or that I just really love. So my one true love in terms of foundation, if I had to label a foundation a favorite, it's going to be the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk. Shade 3 is a perfect spot-on shade match for me. This wears so well, yet it has a very lightweight texture. It's not too matte, it's not too glowy. It just does everything that you want it to do. And the alternative that I found for it is this. I'm not saying this is the same. It's not a dupe at all, but if I think of a affordable base product, like foundation-like product that I've tried, that I feel gives me a very similar experience to the Armani one, is the Missha Choboyang BB cream. I have mine in shade 17, which was the only shade that was in stock, and I just got really lucky that it's a really good shade match for me, because I was doubting this one because I'm very often in K-Beauty brands. I'm a shade 21. But yeah, the shade 17 in the Choboyang is just lovely. Apparently this has been reformulated, and this is the reformulated version that I have. And a lot of people are saying that the old version was even better than this. But this, I get a very similar experience with as the Armani. This wears well, it looks great. We've been having really nice warm summer days the past few weeks over here in the Netherlands, and this is one of the foundations I was wearing as the weather was heating up, and where some of my makeup products that I had in my Shop My Stash weren't great for that. This, even on a warm day, this really stayed put really nicely. It looked glowy, but without it looking greasy on my skin. This just gave me such a good even canvas to start off a makeup look with, and I was super impressed with this one. This may be one of my favorite new base products for sure. And then we need to talk tinted moisturizer. So I have Chanel Le Beige tinted moisturizer, and then I have the Hema Shake It Up Skin Tint. So I showed you this one going on in my video on Tuesday because this is a product that's been discontinued. You can no longer buy it. I have other tinted moisturizers, but they're more in the high-end category, not necessarily luxury, which is why I went with the Chanel one. But I have found a really, really good alternative to some of the more expensive skin tints and tinted moisturizers out there. The problem is that it's only available in the Netherlands because Hema it's like our version of Target. If you want a comparison, they do a lot of name brand stuff, so everything has the Hema brand on it, from food to like DIY things. Whenever I need like needle and thread to fix something, or I need buttons, I go to Hema. They do really good tights and socks and like underwear. All of my muslin cloths to wash my face with are from the brand. They do a really good wide range of products. And they have makeup lines, and they have the Bay makeup line, which is aimed at a younger audience. And I spotted this in store one day thinking this is going to be way too dark. But this sheers out so beautifully. The shade goes with my skin so well. It wears beautifully, and it was one of my favorite products I tried in 2022. Such a surprise at only €6. It can definitely give you that tinter moisturizer look for less, even though I feel that like tinter moisturizer like texture is definitely something we find more so in high-end categories to luxury rather than in the drugstore category. A lot of drugstore foundations are like medium to full coverage because I think that just sells better than these very lightweight things. So I was super happy to find this at such an affordable price point, but I don't think a lot of people will be able to get their hands on it. And finally, the Charlotte Tilbury Light Wonder Foundation, which is being discontinued as we speak. There are still a couple of shades up on the website, but I don't think this is coming back. I think ever since releasing the Beautiful Skin Foundation that they're now discontinuing this, which is a shame because this is my favorite. Like the Armani, this is such a good lightweight, like it's between a foundation and a tinted moisturizer, I would say. It's very lightweight, very glowy, but it still stays put very well. And I have found something when I was doing my drugstore foundation tryout earlier in the year in the Lumine Natural Glow Foundation. So this I do feel is more glowy than the Charlotte Tilbury, but it's got that same very breathable, lightweight texture. And despite this being super dewy and glowy, it stays put beautifully. And again, both of these have a really good shade match for me. So I have this one in shade light and this one is in shade 2. So continuing on with the rest of the face, we need to talk bronzers, and we all know my love for the Christian Dior Natural Bronze, no, Forever Natural Bronze bronzer in tan bronze. I mean, the emblem has worn off. I'm getting a dip in this. There's a little bit of heart pen along the sides. Like, this thing is very well loved, and you can definitely see like the edge of the packaging is just starting to turn color from me dipping my brush in there. This is natural. It works. It's flawless. And this is when I found out that, you know, if a bronzer has a slightly cooler undertone, it just goes with my complexion so much better than things that are more warm toned. Very often I went for more yellow tone bronzers in the past, but this one changed the game for me in terms of the shade that it has. It's got a little bit of gray almost running through it, which is why it works for me. And many bronzers I just feel are far too warm toned for my liking. But what if I told you that Kiko, in that same very lovely silver-like packaging, has a bronzer in their line that also has a very light, cool, undertoned color to it. This is their Flawless Fusion Bronzer in shade 1. I don't know if I said it for the Dior one, but that one is in 410 bronze. This is not a shade dupe, it's not a formula dupe, but I do feel they look similar on the skin in terms of what they do. I think this is a little bit lighter than the Dior one though. The Dior one is a bit more universal year-round for me, and this one I reach for mainly in the winter time because it's so subtle that even if I go super duper duper incredibly pale, I can still pull it off. I always struggled with bronzers in the winter time and I was never wearing them because they just didn't match me. But then I found this and also one by Catrice that are incredibly lovely. But this I feel is better than the Catrice one even. The Catrice one has a very strong scent to it and it's more similar to the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer I feel, but this I feel very much could be a much more high-end product. This could be sold at double, triple the price, and I would still pay for that price for it. Something that's a little less documented, because I haven't been raving about this brand enough in terms of their blushes, is Pat McGrath. So I showed you a Pat McGrath blush going on in last Tuesday's video. This is the other one that I have from the brand, and this made me fall in love. This is such a stunning blush formula. It's a powder, but it feels very rich and creamy. And Divine Rose, this is also the shade of the blush. The shade is called, the blush range is called Divine Blush, and this is in the shade Divine Rose, and it's my perfect mauve tone blush. It just is. So by now, I feel that whenever I do a comparison of my mauve tone blushes, which I did for you, because in February I actually swatched out my entire makeup collection for you that was like in color products. So I have all those swatches up. So I'll make sure to link those videos down below as well. So if you want to see any of these comparisons, you can. But yeah, the Pat McGrath one is just a really stunning product. I really love the way this goes on. Even the lighter shades in that range still show up beautifully. It blends super easily. You only need a little bit on your brush to really get a nice blushy look. You don't have to keep building it into oblivion to get the color payoff. So this is a lovely formula. I really rate it very highly, but of course I have alternatives for you. My two affordable mauve tone blushes that I love, again, one of those Kiko products. This is no longer made, but they do a very similar shade still. This is their Shade Fusion Trio Blush in 05. This is lovely. I really, really enjoy it. But I also have this guy here. This is by Etude House. This is the lovely Cookie Blusher. It's another K-Beauty product. It comes with a little puff. I love it. The packaging feels very flimsy and very cheap. This could break very easily. But shade-wise, this is one of my favorite mauve tone blushes. This is in the shade Ginger Honey Cookie. It's one of the lighter ones they do. They have a really stunning range of more cooler tone blushes in this product as well. They do some lavender tones that are absolutely stunning. So if you're looking for a really good blush formula at like €5, Etude House Lovely Cookie Blusher has a bunch of shades, and formula-wise, I feel it's very similar to the Pat McGrath in terms of its blendability. This looks blushy, but without it looking overly done. It blends super easily, and that's why I had to give a shout out to the Etude House here as well. More complexion than the highlighter category. I actually have two sets of highlighters to recommend. I've got powder highlighters and cream liquid highlighters in a minute. So the Dior, this is also from that Forever range. This is their Forever Couture Luminizer. This is in the shade Pink Glow. And I remember thinking for a while there, I don't want these icy pink kind of products anymore. I don't love that shade on me. I think it's a bit stark. Until I found this, and I fell in love with pink toned highlighter again. So this is so lovely. Like, you can already see in the pan what that lovely shine is gonna do for your face. This is natural yet glowy. It doesn't look very thick and heavy onto the skin like we saw a couple of years ago where highlighter was very obvious. This is going to give you the impact that you want a highlighter to have, but it's still looking very natural on the skin. I'm not saying this is a dupe, it's not, but I think if you want that sort of vibe and you want it at a lesser price point, Essence, their Gimme Glow highlighter in a lovely rose. It's pinky toned. It's got a little bit of a warmer undertone though than the Dior one. I definitely think that finding a good cool toned highlighter can be a bit challenging at lower price point. Again, super duper flimsy packaging here. Like with the Etude House, this feels like it could break any minute. But here again, you can just see when that light hits it already in the pan and on the cheeks. It's so stunning. Again, like the Dior, impactful, but without it looking very unnatural. It doesn't lay thick and heavy on the skin, blends in beautifully, and this has that cream to powder formula that you can still pick up with a brush. So it's that jelly kind of texture that the Nabla skin glazing has. It's that kind of texture. The Dior is more of your classic powder highlight, doesn't feel as creamy to the touch, but this feels really rich and creamy. Again, if you just touch this product and you close your eyes, it feels that it's going to be like 10, 20 times more expensive than it actually is, and it retails for like 30 euros at the drugstore. 30 euros? 3 euros, I should say, because it's very cheap. More highlighters then, and sadly the alternatives to this you can no longer buy because they were a limited edition, but I do think that the Charlotte Tilbury Beauty Light ones are really, really beautiful. I have the contour shade, I have a couple of the blush shades, I have the spotlight shade here as well. I'm holding up Peach Gasm and Spotlight because I have alternatives from Catrice in Cruella and Maleficent. These were from the Disney Villains collection, and they just do the same thing. They just do. They're doing the same thing. This is why I don't need the e.l.f. versions that have come out. because I already have drugstore alternatives, even though, you know, it would make for a good video, I think. But by now, everybody has already compared these, of course. So I don't feel I need to add my 2 cents. But yeah, the Charlotte Tilbury Beauty Light ones, really beautiful product. It's overpriced, it's overhyped, and you can definitely get it for less. If you're in the US, I believe that Flower Beauty has some really nice options that can be alternatives to this as well. You have the e.l.f. ones now, and everyone and their mother is doing this kind of packaging where we have the squeezy tube with the puff. So, do we really need it? Oh, and by the way, Kiko also has a lot of these like Charlotte Tilbury dupes in their line, but they're usually limited edition, and you need to snatch them up quickly because a lot of people are buying them. But yeah, these are really lovely products, but I don't think you need to pay for this necessarily. Next up, it could be a little bit controversial here, but the Lisa Eldridge Liquid Lurex in Anais is a really lovely liquid eyeshadow. It is. I really had a thing for liquid eyeshadow towards the end of 2022, and I started trying some things, and I think this is a really lovely formula. It's very sheer upon the first application, but you can definitely build it up to have it be more intense. If you apply just a dot to your lid and then blend it in with your finger, it's going to sheer out really beautifully, but then you add another dot and another dot and another dot, and you can really get it to look like what it does in the tube. It's got a lovely, just a light bit of shimmer, a great one and done eyeshadow, and I would like to get a couple more of these because there are a few shades that are still out of stock that I would like to get my hands on. But yeah, this is just a really good product. I really love it. However, if you don't want to spend that kind of money on a liquid eyeshadow and you have access to the Essence eye tints, I think this is better. So I have the Luminous Eye Tint Liquid Shadow in the shade Shimmering Taupe, and I was wearing this a lot in May. I didn't really feel like doing my makeup very often. I wasn't feeling like whipping out eyeshadow palettes and doing complete looks. I just wanted something super simple, and I had this in my Shop My Stash after taking it with me to Paris, and I love it. The only difference though, that this formula stay away from your like your lower lash line, whereas the Lisa Eldridge you can definitely put on your lower lash line as well. Just, you know, take a bit on a brush from the applicator and then putting it on your eye is going to work really well. With this, my eye started to water instantly, so you have to be very careful if you get it very close to your eye that this could give you a bit of a reaction. There's probably something in the formula that isn't entirely eye safe, but it's a stunning product. Like if you're looking for something that shears out beautifully, again, something that I believe I did swatch out as a short a while ago, so I'll make sure to insert that here. It's such a lovely formula. Some people were saying how they get creasing with this, but please, you get a lot more product on this doe foot than you need. I just apply one dot, blend it out with my fingers, and like with the Lisa Eldridge, if I want a bit more, then I just apply another dot, and that's all you need. You don't need a lot with this, and I think this product is absolutely stunning. But of course, in terms of luxury makeup, I need to rave about these again, the Victoria Beckham Lid Lusters. I love these little guys. These are stunning. Stunning products. I really rate them very highly. They go on beautifully, but most of the shades are quite smoky. So I have the shades Mink and Onyx, which are like a black and like a deeper taupe. There are a couple of things that are a bit more sparkly, but those are a bit more warm toned. But you don't need to spend this much money for this kind of product, I feel. Again, formula wise, the alternatives I have aren't going to be the same. And they're not going to be the same shades or anything, but I feel that if you want those like quick and easy one and done eyeshadows in a pot, if you've been here, you know what I'm going to say. ColourPop Super Shocks. There are many other alternatives to eyeshadows in a pot like this, and if you've been here, you know how much I love the ColourPop Super Shocks. So Ritz and So Quiche is what I'm holding here. These are my two favorites. I travel with these. You can just throw them on, super easy. In the ColourPop formula though, I don't love a lot of their darker shades, whereas in the Victoria Beckham, I do like that because I feel I have more time to play with those and they go on better with a brush than the ColourPop ones do. The ColourPop ones really just need fingers and you can just dab it on and it's fine. With the Victoria Beckham, I feel it performs more like an eyeshadow would. So that's why that's, like, formulation wise, they are definitely higher quality. But if you want the look for less, then these are good. But we can't stop there because I think that these kind of like potted eyeshadows, yes, you can buy them from higher end brands, but again, K-Beauty does it best. I have one from Holika Holika. This is their Moon Flash eyeshadow, which is discontinued, but it's so, so pretty. Very sparkly, very sort of that one and done eyeshadow look as well. And just recently I discovered these from Clavu. I hope that's how you say it, Clavu. I don't know how to say this, but especially this shade. Like, look at that, how it sparkles. This is in Glam Brown, which looks like such a stunning taupe shade. I haven't even put these on my eyes yet, but they swatch so beautifully. And then I have a very light one. This is Silver Lilac. I mean, it looks stunning. So I can't wait to try these. They were definitely a lot more affordable than the Victoria Beckham ones. And another shout out to Charlotte Tilbury's. Are they the eyes to mesmerize? Like the little pots, the cream pots that she has? Guess what? H&M Beauty does them too. And I suspect they're made in the same factory because I used to have the one in Pillow Talk. And formulation wise, this one in Dauphine Truffle, which is discontinued sadly, felt exactly the same. The H&M Beauty line is also made in Italy, and I feel it has a lot of overlap with what Charlotte Tilbury has to offer as well. So if you're looking for another brand that you might be able to get your hands on, H&M Beauty is best bought through their app or online because not all stores stock it, and they very often don't have testers. But texture-wise, this is a great cream shadow as well. So shout out to H&M for being a great alternative to the Charlotte Tilbury ones. And then lipstick, Lisa Eldridge lipsticks. I love these. My love for the Lisa Eldridge lipsticks is very well documented on this channel and over on the blog. I do regular reviews with this. I hope to be able to buy the rest of the True Velvet soonish so that in the fall time I can do an updated True Velvet line overview for you as well. But my favorite shade of the Velvets and my favorite lipstick from the entire range is Velvet Ribbon. If you get just one Lisa Eldridge shade, make it Velvet Ribbon. It's the perfect classic blue toned red that I've ever found. It's very vibrant. It makes your teeth look super white. It's a stunning lipstick. But what if I told you that Kiko does a shade that's pretty much the same? So these two lipsticks are incredible. Oh, where's the lid going? This is in shade, oh, I can't read it, 312 from the Velvet Passion range. I believe it's called Cherry something. And I wanted to mention this lipstick range. The cap has fallen somewhere, so I can't pick it up without moving the camera. But this lipstick range has a lot of color dupes for the Lisa Eldridge Velvet range. So the Velvet Passion range from Kiko and the Lisa Eldridge True Velvet range, there's a lot of overlap in them. The Kiko Velvet Passion range comes in 40 different shades. So I think that if you're looking for a more affordable lipstick, but that feels high-end from the packaging to the performance, the Kiko Velvet Passion lipsticks definitely need to get a shout out here. Yeah, those are all of the products that I wanted to show you in my overview of like luxury versus more affordable products, because I think you can always get the look for less when it comes to more luxury makeup, but sometimes you just want that very bougie stuff, you know? I just know that I feel that way, and I know a lot of us as well. So if you want that treat yourself moment, these are some good ones as well, but you definitely don't have to spend that amount of money. So thank you so very much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed Luxury Makeup Week. Next month, we're going to be doing a K-Beauty week. So I'm going to be testing out some more K-Beauty stuff, do a full face makeup look with nothing but K-beauty, and also do a tea time chat about that and why I like them so much and why I love trying K-beauty products at the moment more so than I do a lot of Western makeup brands. So that's what I have in store for you next month, so stay tuned for that. And of course I have a lot more other videos coming this month as well, so I hope you'd like to stay tuned for all of that goodness. Thank you so very much for being here. Thumbs up the video if you liked it. Subscribe, because I would love for you to join my little family on here, and I hope you have a great day. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.